So which is the correct solution? I'm not saying Americans are wrong. I found the correct solution in Poland, Warsaw, where I was incidentally, I came practically from there here 5 days ago. In a big hotel where I was staying, I discovered the right solution. And this will bring me to the conclusion, if I will have time of today's talk, something about Alain Badiou, our friend, French philosopher, and his ontology. You know how they have it in Warsaw, at least in the hotel where I was. They start with 0, of course, because 0 is ground floor. You don't, but then they immediately go from 0 to 2. And I had a nice philosophical lesson from an old gentleman who was, how do you call it, the janitor, the guy who, in expensive hotels, it's too undignified for you to press the buttons, so there is... And I asked him, why this? And he gave me my God, a perfect philosophically correct answer. He says, the ground floor should be 0 because there are no floors. Of course, it's 0. But, wonderful formulation, he said, but the moment you start to count, you must count 0 as 1. So, the 1 should already be 2. And this is what Hegelian dialectics is about. If you understand this, I just yesterday read in a newspaper another thing which, to give you an idea what I'm aiming at. You know, in the old days there were, in these dancing small cafeterias, the so-called jukeboxes, you know. You put on in coins, music. I learned that, you know what they had in some American cafeterias in the 50s? Let's say you were a guest in that cafeteria and wanted a little bit of peace. They had a disc, short one, disc which had only silence recorded. So you put a coin and you know, this is like 0 counted for 1. It wasn't simply silence. It was a song which functioned as silence, how should I put it. So you must have this short circuit in order for things to function. So again, why am I mentioning this, apart from telling bad jokes as usual? I mention this because, you know, when people tell you, end of ideology and so on, of course, maybe, I'm not even so sure about that. For most people, we no longer play the game of big ideologies, you sacrifice your life for it, but nonetheless, our everyday life, the way the most elementary phenomena, kitchens and so on, rituals are structured, you find there a whole network of what one cannot call but ideological presuppositions. Probably everybody knows here, so I will very shortly repeat myself. You know that my example, because of which everybody laughs at me, no? You know it, the toilets. Did you travel if you travel to the West, let's say you travel the 3 countries, Germany, France, Anglo-Saxon world. Be careful, observe the toilets. You will see, I simplify it a little bit, but it is like this. French toilets are that my God, it's good that French ambassador is not here now. French toilets are so that the hole is in the back, so that when you produce shit, it falls immediately into the hole with water, disappears as soon as possible. Go to United States, you will see a different toilet, which is basically full of water, so that the shit floats there in it. No, this is not the worst. The worst are the traditional German toilets, which are disappearing, which are without water, I mean, not being full. But the hole is in front, so that when you produce shit, it is as it were displayed there to smell, to reflect, and so on. This is this old ritual that in the morning you inspect your sheet for worms, for possible whatever. Okay, now I asked many of my friends, but listen, what's the origin of this? Some architect friend gave me 2 books on structure of toilets. And it's incredible how each nation argues simply in a pragmatic way. Like the Americans say this is the most practical way, you know. The French basically the same. So what does this mean? Then I started to think a little bit and came to the only solution that I found. I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it's the best, I'm saying it's the only solution that I found. Going back to philosophy, I remember that, you know, around Hegel's time, the idea emerged in Western Europe of so-called European Trinity. Three key European nations: Germany, France, England, Anglo-Saxon world. The idea is that each of them privileges a certain political domain, a certain social domain and a certain political orientation. French are left, revolutionary, and they are political. Their big thing is politics. Anglo-Saxon world is, of course, economy and moderate middle pragmatic. Germans are conservative and Dichtung und Denken, no? Thinking, reflecting, and so on. And then, my God, it did strike me. That's it. Listen, the French one, shit, liquidated, disappear as soon as radical. The British one, pragmatic. Pragmatic, float a little bit, we get rid. The German, metaphysical conservative. Let's reflect upon it, see, and so on. I'm sorry to tell you, but ridiculous as it is, I spoke, I'm coming 2 weeks ago. I'm still in jet lag, that's why I'm so confused. I was in Australia. And I spoke there with architects, and they admitted to me, knowing this peace of mind, that that's the best explanation they found. I mean, even if it's, of course, I simplified it a little bit, but the lesson I want to give to you is the following one. That even when you look at the most elementary disposition in a house, where is kitchen, how is the toilet structured, how are the corridors related to rooms, do you go from one room directly to the other corridors? This can never be accounted for, explained, how should I put it, in a direct utilitarian way. There is always some, how should I put it, one cannot but call it, in the strongest sense of the term, ideological reference in order to explain it. At this level, and then we can go on, from manners, how we say hello to each other. For example, years ago I read much more modest, non-obscene, but nonetheless interesting analysis of how the kitchen is structured, typical in Denmark and in Sweden. There is some mystery about where you push things when you wash them, dishes, and where you put them to dry. And again, it's clear analysis that there is a whole semiotic system in it. You cannot just ground it in. No? So now you will tell me, but nonetheless there are some things which are simply utilitarian. Of course there are. Of course, ultimately, you must go to the toilet, you must wash the dishes or whatever. But the problem is that you never get rid of this ideological excess. Because even if it is utilitarian, it is still utilitarian in a, precisely when you want to be purely utilitarian. It's utilitarian in an ideological way. What do I want to say by this? Let's say, why do people wear, it's the most stupid classical example, why do people wear these used stoned jeans? It's not simply that you want to be practical, utilitarian, no bullshit with complicated dress, but semiotics is already in it. You want to signal as a meaning that you want to be utilitarian, you know. To bring this attitude to its ridiculous climax, I have some unfortunate friends whom I hate for this. No, it's not you, sorry, yours is longer. Who have, there is a high art in the West among degenerate intellectuals to have a short beard which appears unkept. But you have to spend half an hour every morning to, produce, you get my point here. Even when you want to give a signal, I don't care, I'm utilitarian. It's a signal. You're already caught in ideology. And that's how I noticed that your beloved, whatever they are called, Umpik or what stupid, they like these Land Rovers, no? I wonder if this is, again, not a little bit of ideology in it. Like, you are a normal country, why not normal cars? What I suspect is that there is a little bit of this, where do you really need Land Rovers? In these wild countries where you are among animals and so on, do they not signal a little bit, maybe, that